I hate to say this. No, actually, I really do hate saying this. But I think we may have to concede to the fact that Donald Trump may actually become the president in 2024. That he'll win re-election in 2024. If that happens, this country will become a fascist dictatorship. Now, I know I keep harping on this, I keep talking about this on the last 3 videos I've done so far. I'm going to continue to talk about it because quite honestly, I don't think everyone is listening to the plans that Donald Trump has. So, to help me with this, I've found this video on TikTok posted by Alan Piper, a journalist for the Courier news website. And it gives you step by step what Donald Trump is planning to do if he does win a second term in 2024 as President of the United States. Or shall I say, as Chancellor of the Nazi States of America. Mr. Piper, if you please.
A lot of media are scared to cover Trump honestly for fear of seeming partisan. Now I know it can feel extreme to use words like fascism, but how else can you describe someone who wants to put potentially millions of people in internment camps and uses the actual language of Hitler, dehumanizing his opponents as vermin?
The radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
And claiming that immigrants are poisoning national bloodlines.
It's poisoning the blood of our country.
3 key facts about the specific plans Trump and his allies have for a second term that look a lot like actual fascism. Number 1, Trump is planning an ethnic purge with mass detention camps.
We'll carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
Trump's advisors, including Stephen Miller, laid out the plans to the New York Times. They say Trump will round up millions of immigrants every year and put them in, quote, vast holding facilities indefinitely while their fates are decided. He will deploy the military within the U.S. to conduct raids, dispense with due process, and grant sweeping immigration enforcement powers to local police, essentially deputizing the Derek Chauvins and Joe Arpaios of the nation to go after anyone whose citizenship they choose to question. Trump also has called to restore and expand his Muslim ban, and to cancel the student visas of foreign students who engage in political protests he disagrees with. And Trump has pledged
on day 1
he will overrule the 14th Amendment to end birthright citizenship by executive order. These are all actual stated plans. Number 2, Trump has promised to weaponize the government against his personal enemies, making retribution the focus of his second term.
I am your retribution.
What's so chilling about Trump's promises to, quote, root out the radical left he describes as vermin is that it includes anyone he disagrees with. His political opponents,
The radical left Democrats,
the free press,
they are truly the enemy of the people.
the judiciary,
Radical left judges,
even teachers.
the Marxist lunatics and perverts who have infested our educational system.
Now, while Trump's own multiple indictments are objectively non-political, they were handed down by grand juries made up of private citizens, he's promising a very different type of prosecution under his reign.
If I happen to be president and I see somebody who's doing well and beating me very badly, I say, go down and indict them.
By the way, that's also implying that he plans to run for a third term, which I'll come back to. Now, Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, says that in his first term, he demanded the FBI and IRS investigate his perceived enemies, but that people like Kelly refused to go along with it. That's why, as Axios has reported, Trump's team is assembling an army of up to 54,000 Trump loyalists to replace anyone in government who won't place Trump above the law. And they're looking to use the military against American citizens to crush dissent. We saw a glimpse of that in 2020 when Trump deployed the National Guard against peaceful protesters outside the White House. General Mark Milley later acknowledged that was wrong, which may be part of why Trump has since suggested Milley should be executed for treason. In a second term, Trump is more likely to choose generals like Michael Flynn, who called for imposing martial law and suspending the Constitution to overturn the 2020 election. Number 3, If Trump returns to office, there's no reason to think he will peacefully leave in 4 years. We just watched a clip where he's already talking about running in the next election, and he's repeatedly floated the idea of serving extra terms.
We'll be here for 4 years, and then if we decide to go for an extra 4 or 8 or something. When someday I leave, whether it's in 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, 16 years.
12 more years! 12 more years!
The Constitution's 22nd Amendment bars a president from a third term, but Trump has called for suspending the Constitution. Now let's be clear, a president doesn't have the authority to do that. Trump is calling for the policies of a dictator, not a president. And he's already shown that he will do whatever it takes to stay in power. And if he succeeds in replacing the Justice Department, the judiciary, and military leadership with his own loyalists, who will stop him? The laws of our country aren't like the laws of physics. They only exist if we choose to keep upholding them. And whether we continue to have a constitutional democracy is up to us in the next election. I'm Alan Piper at A Piper 13. Follow Courier Newsroom for all the election info you need.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump's bullet-by-bullet plan to replace our constitutional republic, our democracy, if he ever regains power, and replace it with dictatorship. Absolute, total dictatorship. And this isn't hyperbole. You saw what Donald Trump has said in this video, in Mr. Piper's video. This is coming directly from Donald Trump's mouth. This is coming directly from the man himself. If this were anyone else talking, they would already have been removed as candidate for the presidency. If this were Barack Obama or any other political figure talking like this, the presidency of the United States, he would be removed as president of the United States or as a candidate. But since it's Donald Trump, as I said earlier in this video, we may have to concede the fact that Donald Trump may regain the White House in 2024. Not that I don't have any faith in Joe Biden. But I've looked at Twitter and X and everywhere else, and these people, the MAGA, are gone. They have left reality. They'll say that Donald Trump didn't mean to say this. He meant that, knowing full well he meant exactly what he said. He didn't mean to say vermin. He didn't mean it that way. Yes, he did. He called people like me, who make videos about him, downgrading him, who committed the ultimate sin of not voting for him in 2016 and 2024. People like me who still believe in our constitutional republic, in the Constitution, that the Constitution itself is the only law of the land. He calls me vermin. And I take that very offensively, and I take it incredibly seriously. I take it as a direct threat. Now, I know he's too much of a coward to pull the trigger himself, but he has got a whole host of people that will gladly pull the trigger for him. He's got a whole army behind him. And if you think for 1 second that if he's reelected on day one, we won't see massive killings of people of color, of people who didn't vote for Donald Trump, you are kidding yourselves. If you're not thinking that he's going to have the United States military rolling down the street, locking up American citizens of color, or those who don't wear the MAGA hat or the MAGA colors, as we saw in Nazi Germany. If we refuse to wear the uniform of the MAGA, we are under arrest and declared enemies of the state. That's not me being hyperbole. That's exactly what is happening, and it's exactly what's going to happen now. So we may have to resign the fact that Donald Trump might actually be reelected. Because quite honestly, when I see congressmen like Byron Donalds, I don't care if I got his name right now, I don't give a shit, I don't care. He's a scumbag, I don't care. When I see people like this, a man of color, a black man, endorsing Donald Trump, even after the horrendous things that he has said, the horrendous threats he has transmitted, it becomes a problem. When I see people like this, African Americans, Mexican Americans, people of color, say they endorse Donald Trump even after he called American citizens vermin, only because they didn't vote for Donald Trump. The only reason it becomes a problem. When you have the support of these kinds of people, even after the horrendous things that he has said, then this country is going to die. And the person who will put it out of its misery is the person that they endorsed, Donald Trump. Trump has made it clear what he plans to do if he ever regains the White House in 2024. I know why I said he may have to resign the fact that he may be reelected, but I still have some smidget of hope that he won't be. Now, if we're counting on the prosecutions to end his political career, it might not happen. He's definitely going to pay a huge check in the New York case, regardless of how many threats he wants to type up on social media. But we're counting on the January 6th case, or any of the other cases that he's facing. We need to stop and focus on the ballot box. Because I honestly believe that's the only way, if he's the Republican nominee, unless Nikki Haley pulls off some sort of miracle and pulls it away from him, unless that happens, we need to focus on the ballot box. Share my videos. Get the truth out there. Get people, strangers on the street, members of your own family, to vote. You may not like Joe Biden. There are things about him I don't like. There are policies about him that should be different. But at least we can debate with the man about how to do things. With Donald Trump, there is no debate. There is no conversation to be had. With Trump, it's his way or die. You're going to do this my way, Donald Trump's way, or die. Honor thy Donald Trump, or die. That is not me making threats. That is the straight up truth. And Americans need to wake up to that fact. Donald Trump has made direct threats against this country and our democracy. And the only way you don't see that is if you're blissfully ignorant or blind to it, like the rest of the MAGA. I don't believe you guys who are watching this video are. And I'm praying to God that you don't sit idly by in 2024 and watch a madman try to regain power. You heard this plan. Don't let him put his plan into motion. Because if he does, this country, the United States of America, our constitutional republic, the freedoms that we all enjoy, the freedoms that my ancestors and your ancestors have enjoyed for over 250 years, the freedoms that so many people have fought and died for, will become an historical footnote in a Trump fascist America. Please share, please subscribe. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.